What's up YouTube photographer Ronnixphotography, and Atra. In this tutorial we are going to be learning and understanding how you can easily edit photos as a beginner in Photoshop. And in this we're going to be covering so many topics. For example, how to process your raw files when it comes to Photoshop, then also how to export the images when it comes to exporting them from Camera Raw to Photoshop, then also doing the skin retouching, color grading, eye whitening, and a little bit of dodging and burning, and how to enhance the images in Photoshop. So this is going to be a slightly long tutorial, but I hope you're going to be benefiting from this tutorial. So before we proceed, simply like this video, and if at all you're not yet subscribed, simply subscribe this channel if at all you are watching and you're not yet subscribed to this channel. So in order to import the photo into Photoshop, we are simply going to come right here and locate the image where it is. And for this case, this is a raw file. So for a raw file, as soon as you right click and open it with Photoshop, or you drag it into Photoshop, it's going to automatically open the camera raw filter within your Photoshop. So I'm just going to come and right click on the image, come to open with, and I'm just going to select Photoshop. And just like that, the photo is going to open up the camera raw filter. So you can see that we have different adjustments when it comes to the camera raw filter. And before we proceed, you can understand and see the temperature is basically how warm or how cold the photo is, and the tint is a given shade that is added to your image regarding the surrounding. And we have different adjustments. So what we're going to do, we are simply going to correct the lighting and contrast issues regarding this very photo right here. So the very first thing is, first of all, recovering the highlights within the background. You can see these areas. So for that, we're just going to come to the highlight slide and simply take down the highlights, and you can see that gets rid of those hot spots within the background. And we're also going to come to the whites and also take that down slightly. Negative 27 is fine. Then you're going to open up the shadows slightly. Don't take it all the way up because that is going to make the image lose contrast. So around 16. Then you're going to add a tiny bit of contrast to the image to around 4. Then you're going to come and open up or add some tiny bit of exposure to this very image to around plus 2 plus 0.25. I think that is okay. So after doing that, this is more of correcting the light and contrast issues. You can as well change the color balance if at all you wish to. So for this, I feel like the image is slightly more on the warm side. So I just cool it down by taking the slider towards the blue side, which is the cold side. So blue is for cold and yellow is for warm. So if at all you're having any color cast, if at all the image is having more greens, you can eliminate the greens by moving the slider towards the right hand side by adding magentas. And if at all you have magentas or purples, you can move the slider towards the green, and that is going to eliminate those colors from the image. So after correcting the lighting and contrast issues within the image, we are just going to make sure that we come down here and make sure that we simply left click and put these settings so that every time we are working on images within Camera Raw or raw files, we don't have to go through these settings. So make sure the color space is set to Adobe RGB, and the bit depth is 16-bit because we want to deal with so much information regarding this very image. And leave everything like the resolution to 300 pixels per inch, and sharpen for screen, and leave it to standard. So don't check the option that says open as smart objects. So I'm just going to come and hit OK. So every single time you are done doing these adjustments, these settings are going to be automatically set within the camera raw filter. So after doing that, we're just going to come right here and simply left click on the option, or rather on the option of open right here. So don't click on done, simply left click on open, and the photo is going to be opened into Photoshop. So right now we have this image into Photoshop that is open. So the very first thing I tend to do when it comes to editing photos is knowing the intention or the purpose of your photos. So for this case, if at all you want to post the image into Photoshop, you have to always crop it because you don't want to lose out on the information in your photo. So I'll just come and get the crop tool and select it, and for whichever tool you select in Photoshop, the adjustments or settings are going to always be on this top side. So I've selected the crop tool by left clicking and simply click on the drop down and simply choose a ratio of 45 or 8 by 10, because when you post such an image onto Instagram, it won't be cropped. So you just crop it once and for all from this stage and simply hit enter. So to crop, you can either drag in these corners just like that, and after doing that, simply hit enter and it is going to automatically crop the image. So right now we are in Photoshop, and the next thing we are going to do is working on the skin. So in order to fine tune the skin, if at all I am to zoom in for you, you can notice that we have pimples, blemishes, and this model has a really beautiful skin, and we have less work to do regarding blemish removal or cleaning the skin. But on the other hand, we have to make sure that we have uniform skin tone transitions within her skin, and this process is known as skin retouching. So what I'm going to do, we are going to fine tune this very image by doing the skin retouching. So I use command minus to zoom out. So this is the image. So in order to do a skin retouching, we are going to use frequency separation. So I know you may have come along this term when it comes to editing photos in Photoshop, but basically frequency separation is a skin retouching technique that we're going to be using to edit this very image. And frequency separation is a skin retouching technique that is going to divide the image or this very photo. It is going to divide the colors and separate those colors from the textures. So it is basically going to be the same image, but when it is divided into two, so that when we combine the two layers or the two options or the two halves involving colors and textures, we're going to end up with this very image at the end of it all. So when we perfect the colors alone and we also perfect the textures alone, and we combine both perfected layers, you're going to be ending up with a perfectly retouched image or a perfectly edited image. So for this, I'm just going to come right here and I'm just going to come the background layer. So in order to create a copy from the background layer, we're just going to come right here, select the background layer, and simply you can drag and drop it on this new layer icon to create a copy from the background layer. You can simply press Ctrl J on the keyboard if at all using Windows, Ctrl J. Then for Mac it is Command J. So just press it once and the second time to create the two layers that I've just talked about. So double click on the layer icon and you're going to name these two low frequency, or you can name it the color layer, and the upper layer is going to be the high frequency, or you can name it the texture layer. I'm just going to name it to high frequency. So in the low frequency layer, remember we have colors, and in the high frequency layer we have our textures. So we're going to come and now hide the high frequency layer by left clicking on this eye icon to turn it off, and select the low frequency layer by left clicking on the low frequency layer. And after doing this, we're simply going to come and make sure that we have only colors in this low frequency layer, because if at all we zoom in by pressing Ctrl plus on the keyboard, you can see this layer also contains textures. You can see that we have textures, but like I said, we only want to remain with colors in the low frequency layer. So I'll zoom out by using command minus on the keyboard to zoom out the image. So we are going to come and select filter, then come to blur and come to Gaussian blur right there. So take the radius all the way down and you look for the face. Usually the face has more textures than the rest of the body of any photo that you're going to be editing. So look for an area around the face by clicking right there, and you can see every area you click is going to be shown in this preview window right here. So look for that area that has more textures, and basically this is the most important step when it comes to editing and using frequency separation in general. So just come the radius slider and left click and hold down and start dragging up the radius. So you left click and hold down and start dragging up the radius just like that. And you can see as you're moving this radius, so you left click and hold down and you drag and release to see the preview in real time. So drag just like that up to a point when you are losing out, or up to a point when you are no longer seeing the skin textures better. So just stop at the point when the textures on the skin are just starting to disappear from the image. So I'll just take this up. At around 6, that is when I'm just starting to lose out on the textures in this very image, but I can still notice or identify the facial details. That is the most important step. So you have to stop at the point when you're just starting to lose out on the skin details in your image. So after doing that, just come and hit OK. And when you do this, you can notice that the image is going to be looking a little bit blurry in this case. So when the image is looking blurry, it means that this selected layer is going to be containing only and only the colors in this case. So after doing that, we are going now to select the texture layer or the high frequency layer and now activate it, and the textures are going to come back into the image. So we're going to come right here to image, and we're going to come down to apply image. So when you come to apply image, you're going to simply have this apply image window display right here. So when it is displaying what we have to do, you have to notice that as we are opening the image, it has either 8 or 16 right here. And this is what is going to be determining. So if at all you can see 8 or 16, it means your image is either 8-bit or 16-bit respectively. So just come to the source, is basically the name of the image. Come to the layer option and simply select the layer from which you are going to be extracting the textures from, or the layer we don't want the textures to appear on, which is the low frequency layer. So just come and select it and come to the channel and make sure it is set to RGB. So for a 16-bit image, mine is 16-bit. The blending has to always be add, and make sure the opacity is 100%. Preserve transparency and mask are not checked. These two options are not checked. The scale has to be 2 and offset has to be 0, and make sure the invert option is turned on. And as soon as you do that, you can see that the colors disappear from this very layer that we selected. Then if at all you're working with an 8-bit image, if at all you have 8 here, it means the settings are going to be a little bit different. So with the same things that we did up there, for an 8-bit image, the invert option is not turned on, and the blend mode for an 8-bit image is going to be subtract. The scale has to be 2 and offset 128 this time round. Opacity at 100%. Preserve transparency and mask are not checked. And you can see that we have the same results. So to have perfect results, always use the right settings for the right image. So I can't be using 8-bit settings for a 16-bit image if at all I want to have perfection. So I'll just come and change back to add and invert and hit OK. So if at all you're confused along the way, you can pause and rewind and rewatch these settings, because oftentimes I get so many messages about people complaining about how their layers are displaying the wrong results. It's because they messed up on this first step. So just come to the blend mode right here where you say word normal and left click and change it to linear light right here. And you can see it brings back the colors of the image. But if at all we come and we hide the background layer, you can see that basically these two layers are the same image. So if at all I hide this layer, it is the textures, and if at all I select this and hide this, it is only the colors, and if at all I combine both, it is basically the same image. So just come and activate the background layer because you need it. So I'm just going to come and select both layers by pressing Command and left clicking on both layers to select them. So you can press Ctrl G on the keyboard, or you can use Command G for Mac. Then you can as well, after selecting, drag and drop them into this folder icon, put them in a group, and you can double click on the group name to rename the whole group to frequency separation. Always be organized. So to open up this folder, left click on this arrow and it's going to open up the overall frequency separation layers. So we are now done separating the frequencies of this very image. And the next thing is going to be editing the skin. So in order to edit the skin, we have to use different tools in order to blend the skin tones of this very image. So in order to edit the skin better, we are going to be using both the mixer brush tool and also using the lasso tool to blend the skin tones better in this very image. So the very first tool that we're going to be learning and understanding is the mixer brush tool. So for the mixer brush tool, just come and select the layer that is containing the skin tones that you want perfect in this case, which is the low frequency layer. So make sure the layer you're working on is always selected. So after doing that, just come and hide the layer that is containing the textures, because as we are working on the skin tones, we don't want to be distracted by the textures or the outlines of the image. So select the low frequency layer and hide the high frequency layer. So just come under the brushes. You can right click under the brushes and select the mixer brush tool. Or if at all the mixer brush tool is not displaying under the brushes, you can as well right click down here and you can locate your mixer brush tool from these three dots. So like I said at the start of this video, for whichever tool that you select in Photoshop, it is always going to display the settings for that tool right on top here. I hope you can see that. So we have selected the mixer brush tool. So we have to set it to work best for us. So always make sure that the hardness is set to 0% and soft round brush is selected. Always make sure that clean brush is also selected, because we don't want the brush to carry or have any other color on it. That is why you have selected clean brush, and select the option that says clean the brush after each and every stroke, the second option, because when you select the first option, it means as you're mixing or working on the skin tones, it is going to carry the previous color and paint it on a different area, and that is going to change the overall image. So make sure the option that says clean the brush, and in this way we're going to be automatically commanding Photoshop to clean the brush for us as we're working on different areas of the skin. So for the weight, we are going to be using a weight of 9%, a load of 75%, mix at 90, and with the flow of 100%. Make sure sample all layers is not turned on. When you hide the high frequency layer, make sure that this is not turned on, because when you leave this on and you accidentally leave this turned on, you have commanded the brush to paint textures back into the low frequency layer. So if at all I paint right there, you can see how ugly this is going to look. You can see that it has painted back the textures in the color layer, which we don't want. So I'll just undo that by pressing Ctrl Z, or you can use Command Z if at all you are using Mac. So make sure sample all layers is not turned on and hide the high frequency layer. And also, if at all the mixer brush tool is showing a plus icon, make sure that you press the caps key or the caps lock key on the keyboard to bring back the original circle or of your mixer brush tool. So to increase or decrease on the size of the mixer brush tool, you can use the open and close brackets on the keyboard. So the right one is going to, the close bracket is going to increase on the size, and the open bracket is going to reduce on the size of the mixer brush tool. So that is how this basically works. And the other thing, as you're working on this image, make sure you don't zoom all the way in, because when you zoom all the way in, by the way, I'm using Ctrl plus to zoom in and Ctrl minus to zoom out. So when you zoom all the way in, it means that you won't be seeing the uneven skin tone transitions in the image, and you're going to be taking a lot of time trying to edit. So always save time by retouching at a distance by using command minus and retouching at a distance. So how to apply the mixer brush tool? You left click and hold down, and make sure the size of the brush is slightly within the area you're working on. So if at all you are working on the face area, I'm just going to zoom in slightly, increase on the size, and make sure the size of the brush is going to remain within the color range of an area that I'm working on. So you left click and hold down, and you move the brush tool just like that. So you left click and hold down. So when you're done mixing a given area, release the left click button just like that. You release. So when you want to paint, left click and hold down and paint on a new area just like that, and mix that area. So you can see I'm using a slightly small brush to remain within the borders or boundaries of a given color. So if at all I want to work on a smaller area, I'll reduce on the size and blend where this color is transitioning from a light color to a dark color to create a nice and smooth transition. So that is what I'm basically trying to do with the Mr. Brush tool. And you can see a given area moving, the strokes are along all the way a given area is shaped, because I want to maintain the originality or the original shape of the model's face, and I don't want to distort anything. So if at all I'm working on the nose area, I can't move the brush in a left right direction. I have to move it in an up down direction, because that's how the nose direction is moving. So I'll mix the dark area of the nose alone just like that. So left click and hold down, and I'll mix this other side alone just like that. You can see how this is creating uniformity. So when it comes to the highlight area, mix the highlight alone just like that. And this is going to make the image look better and blend the colors even better in this case. So increase on the size to work on another area. So left click and hold down and mix those colors and blend them together. Release and work on a given area just like that. So if at all you're working on this highlight area on the forehead, use the small brush and mix just like that. And where it is transitioning from one color to another, use a small brush to blend those transitions. So you can see that this works better and faster if at all you practice. So I'm just going to work on the face area, and I show you a quick before and after for this or the face area. So I'll just come and turn on the texture layer or the high frequency layer, and when I turn on the overall group or the folder, this is the before after. You can see that we have retained the original skin textures, but we have perfectly edited and smoothened out the skin without losing on the facial shape and facial structures. So I'm just going to zoom out and I show you what we have just done. So this is the before after. So just come hide this once again, and you work on every area that is containing skin. So I'm just going to be doing this as we are enjoying this. So if at all you have any issue, you can drop it in the comment section. And as usual, if at all you have reached this step and you're not yet subscribed this channel, simply subscribe this channel, because it helps the channel grow in the long run. And by the way, don't forget rather to follow me on TikTok. I have a new account that is ronnixphotography on TikTok. So follow me on TikTok, and we can always share ideas and work out different challenges if at all we are facing challenges as photographers. So follow me on TikTok at ronnixphotography. So I'm just going to mix every area that has skin or contains skin. So you can see I'm mixing areas, highlights alone, every area, and trying to blend it. If at all I have a dark patch within a bright area, I'll mix it to be or belong within that predominant or big area. So I'm just going to mix just like that. Hold the space bar key and left click to move to another area just like that. You hold the space bar key, left click and hold down, and you drag to the direction of where you want to edit. So I'm just going to come this other hand and also do like that. So I'm blending just like that. You can see that this gets rid of that dark patch just like that. Reduce on the size, and I'll also fix and work on the knuckles just like that. Since this is a beauty portrait, I'll take relatively long time trying to work on these tiny imperfections on the skin, because beauty portraits are meant to be perfect at the end of the day. So I'll zoom out to see what I have done so far and work on every area that I may have missed out. So like I said, don't zoom all the way in, retouch at a distance, because that is going to help you get better results, and it's also going to help you save a lot of time as a photographer, or if at all you're doing retouching as a hustle or a side business. So you can see, if at all I turn the texture layer back on, you can say before, after, before, before and after. You can see how nicely edited this image has gotten to be, but we have as well retained the original skin details or textures. So this is the before after. So anything is going to be removing the blemishes. You can go ahead and use the lasso tool if at all you really want to use the lasso tool. So the lasso tool is basically to perfect the areas you may have missed out as you're using the mixer brush tool. So with the texture layer now turned on, just come and select the lasso tool right here and make sure it is in new selection mode, and make sure the feathering is relatively high to around 22 pixels, because we just want to perfect the areas we may have missed out when we are using our mixer brush tool. So for the lasso tool, you are now allowed to zoom in because we want to make small selections and perfect the skin. So how the lasso tool is going to work, you left click and hold down and you draw shapes the way a given area is shaped. You can see how I've drawn that shape right there. Just come to filter and come to blur and come down to Gaussian blur, and it's going to bring back the original radius for your frequency separation. So we apply this when we are separating the frequencies of the image, or when we are dividing the image into the colors and textures. So we are still selected on the low frequency layer. So left click on the radius slider and take it up to a point when you feel like you're getting original and nice skin details. So at around 17 or 18, that is when I'll be getting perfect results. So if at all you're not comfortable by moving the slider, you can just multiply the radius that you had originally for your frequency separation by 3. So 6 by 3, type in that value. So delete 6 and type in the value for your frequency separation, 18. Hit OK and just come. Automatically it is going to deselect the previous selection. So come back to filter blur and come to Gaussian blur. And if at all the effect is too much, right click on the selection and you can reduce on the effect of the Gaussian blur. So just come, and when it comes to the nose area, apply it like on the shadow areas alone, just like that, and don't apply it on the whole nose, because when you do that, it is going to make the nose look big and flat, and we don't want to lose out on the original shape or dimension of the nose area. Make small shapes just like that, and that is going to perfect the areas you may have missed out as you're trying to use your mixer brush tool. So spacebar, and I'll come and apply it on this side of the face. Come to filter blur and come to Gaussian blur, and it's going to apply the previous Gaussian blur radius. So I'll just come and do this quick because we just want to perfect the skin. So for this step, I only use it on the face area because it works better on the face area, and other areas don't have as much skin texture like the face. So I only apply it on the face and we are done. So like I said, we have to perfect the colors and also perfect our textures. So we are now done working on the colors or the skin tones, and the next thing is going to be working or perfecting our textures by removing the pimples, blemishes, and acne. So I'm just going to come and select the texture layer or the high frequency layer and come and get the clone stamp tool and make sure the mode is set to normal, opacity the flat 100%. Make sure the hardness is set to 0 right here, and I'll simply make sure it is soft, and I'll zoom all the way in, because if at all you want to see the blemishes or imperfections, zoom all the way in. So if at all you want to remove this pimple right there, simply hold down the option key on the keyboard if at all you are using Mac, and if at all you're using Windows, hold down the alternate key on the keyboard and simply left click on an area that is near the pimple or the blemish that you want to remove. So when you hold down the option key or the alternate key on the keyboard and you left click, it is going to copy clean skin and release the alternate key on the keyboard and simply left click over the blemish, and it is going to paste clean skin over that blemish. So if at all you're confused by that, you can simply rewind a few seconds back and you can understand that better. So I'm just going to be doing this just like that. So always clean up the images and remove those skin imperfections. Like I said, a good makeup artist is going to save you a lot of work when it comes to editing photos. Always make sure you do, or you get a makeup artist that is not going to have you do a lot of editing at the end of it all. And you can see the model's skin is really nice and perfect. So you can see that the blemishes are now removed from the face area. I'm just going to use command minus to zoom out and look at the image at a distance. So I'll come to the rest of the body and try to locate and remove those blemishes that we may not have seen on the lower part of the body. So like I said, take your time always as you're trying to clean up your images. So right now we are done removing or retouching the image, and we have removed the blemishes and worked on the skin. So this is the before after. So next thing is going to be doing a little bit of color grading. So let's do a little bit of color grading to create unevenness within the skin tones. And in order to do that, we're simply going to come right here and simply select our gradient right here. Select gradient map right there. So after selecting gradient map, simply come and hide the gradient layer and select the gradient icon. So make sure the gradient icon is selected. And when it is selected, we have to come back to our gradient editor. So double click on the gradient icon to open up the properties of the gradient map. So we just want to even out and create even skin tones for the model's skin. So when it comes to the properties, simply left click on the color option and it's going to open up the gradient editor. So with this, you can see that we have these stoppers right here. We have the left hand side stopper and the right hand stopper. So just come and simply left click on the left hand stopper, and this is going to represent the darkest point of the skin tone. So left click on it and simply left click on the color option and make sure the sample is set to 5x5 average right here. So single click on the darkest point of the skin tone, just like that, and it's going to sample that color. Hit OK, and you're going to left click on the brightest point or the right hand stopper and click and look for the brightest point of the skin. Hit OK. Then you're going to create one middle pointer and type in the location right here to 50 so that it is straight in the middle, and left click on the stopper tool and left click on what we feel should be the midtones or the mid color. So we have mapped this from the darkest point, the midtones, and the brightest point of the skin tone, and press OK. So we are now going to come right here and now activate the gradient layer, and you can see it is now affecting the overall image. So in order to make this skin tone look better, change the blend mode from normal and change it to color, just like that. You can see it is now looking close to skin tone, but it's still affecting the overall image. So in Photoshop, what you have to understand, white is going to reveal and black is going to hide. So the effect is showing overall this image over this image because it is displaying this white mask right here under the layer options. So make sure you left click over the white layer mask and simply press Ctrl. You can use Command I on the keyboard, Ctrl I for Windows, and for Mac it is Command I to invert. So the effect has been hidden behind this black mask. That is why it is no longer showing on this image. So we're going to come and right click on the brushes and simply get the brush tool. This time around we are using the brush tool, and make sure the mode is set all the way down to normal, opacity and the flat 100%. Make sure the hardness is set to 0% and soft round brush is selected. So make sure you have black and white on these two color swatches, and if at all you have any other random colors, you can press D on the keyboard to reset to black and white, and to switch between black and white you can use X on the keyboard, and that is going to switch between black and white, or you can use this arrow. So make sure white is the foreground color because we want to review the color grading which was hidden behind this black mask. So increase on the size of the brush by using the bracket keys on the keyboard and simply paint just like that. So we are basically going to paint on only the skin. So paint on only the skin, and you can see as we are doing this, you can see that it is creating uniform skin tones. You can see how uniform the model's skin has gotten to be by just painting using our white brush. So come to the hands and also paint. So in this way, we're just trying to create a uniform skin tone for our model right here. And we don't want any kind of unevenness when it comes to beauty portraits. So I'm just going to paint on the hands, the fingers, and everywhere I feel like I can see or identify skin. So you can use the same technique if at all you can see any dark knuckles on your subjects or your models. So I'm just going to come to the face and also even out or create evenness within the skin, just like that. Reduce on the size and also paint just like that. Don't paint on the eyes if at all you don't want them to be affected. So you can have painted on only and only the skin. You can zoom in if at all you're painting on a smaller area and use a small brush and you can paint just like that. So by doing this, we have created even skin tones for our model by using the gradient map tool within Photoshop. So I'm just going to use Command minus on the keyboard. So if at all you make a mistake, for example, you paint on a given area and you want to erase that effect, you can use X on the keyboard, and with the black brush you can paint and erase the color grading from a given area. So right now we are done color grading. So if at all the effect is too much, come the opacity right here. You can click and reduce on the opacity to the one of your liking. So this is the before. You can see armpits were somehow dark, and this is the after, and every color on the model's skin is nice and uniform. So let's proceed with the color grading. So just feel like this should have been a dark skin model. So in this case, we're just going to come to adjustments and simply come to hue and saturation. Come and select the reds. Reds are part of skin tones in most cases. So after selecting the reds, come to the lightness and simply take down the lightness just like that. The lightness of our reds just like that to around -23, and you can as well come and take down the saturation slightly to around -7. Then we can as well come to the yellows and slightly take down the saturation of the yellows just like that. So this is the before, the hue and saturation, and this is the after. Then we're also going to come right here and create a black and white adjustment layer and simply change the blend mode from normal and change it all the down to multiply, and come the opacity and simply drop down or reduce on the opacity to around, let's use around 5 is okay. Then we just want this image to pop a little bit more. So if at all you want the image to pop, we are going to slightly dodge and burn it, but in a better way. So we are going to come and create a levels adjustment layer right here, and with the levels created, you're going to slightly brighten it up by taking the bright point at just this side towards the left hand side. Then you're going to come and create a curves adjustment layer once again right here. And when we create a curves adjustment layer, we're just going to be doing the dodging and burning manually. So just want to enhance the highlights and the shadows of this very image. So dodging and burning is more of enhancing the shadows or the highlights of the image. So we dodge the highlights, and by dodging highlights we are enhancing the highlights, and we burn the shadows, thus enhancing the shadows of the image to bring back the original shape and dimension of the model's face. So I'm just going to create a midpoint, click in the middle right there and simply brighten. So we have slightly brightened the midpoint by dragging this up until the image is bright enough. Then you're going to make sure the white layer mask is selected, press Ctrl I, or you can use Command I on the keyboard to invert the effect, and you're going to double click, rename that to dodge just like that, and you're going to click on the curves adjustment layer and come back to curves once again and click in the middle, and this time around you're going to darken, and you're going to close this and make sure the white layer mask is selected, press Ctrl I, or you can press Command I on the keyboard, and we can name this to burn just like that. And after doing that, we're going to put these two in a group just like that, and press Ctrl G to put them in a group. And you can name these two dodge and burn. I'm just going to name it to D and B. I'm just going to open up the dodge and burn. With the brush tool selected, I'm just going to be using a flow of around, I'm just going to be using a very low flow of 10 or 11%. So 10% is fine. The brush tool is still set to hardness of 0. Soft round brush is selected. And make sure you have black and white on these two color swatches. So you can left click on the black and white right here. So make sure white is the foreground color. Select the dodge layer mask right here. And you can now paint on the brightest point of the skin tone to dodge or to enhance using a white brush. So make sure white is the foreground color and simply come and paint just like that. So if at all you overdo it, you can reset and paint on the brightest point of the skin just like that. We are enhancing the highlights of this very image. Reduce on the size and do that. Come this area because it was initially having highlights, and reduce on the size. And also, so we are basically painting on areas we feel should have those nice and beautiful highlights to make the model have that kind of 3D feel and not have a flat image. So come the burn layer and simply reduce on the size, and you're going to darken or paint on the darkest point just like that. Reduce on the size and just paint on the nose just like that. Come the forehead area and paint on this area just like that. And in this way we have now done the dodging and burning. So if at all you feel like it is too much, so this is the before and after for the dodging and burning. If at all it is too much, come the burn layer and reduce on the opacity to your liking. And you can as well do the same for the dodge if at all it is too much. Or you can as well turn down the overall opacity for your dodging and burning. So just going to turn this down. So this is the before after for the overall dodging and burning process. And you can see the image looks brighter and it has this kind of 3D feel and is not looking flat. So one last thing when it comes to editing is enhancing the color slightly. So I'll just come and create a selective color adjustment layer right here and come to the blacks right here, and I'll simply enhance the blacks by taking the black slider under the blacks to around -2. So I feel like the image is a little bit more on the warm side, so I'll just come to the yellows and simply turn down the yellows to around -7, or let's go with around -8. -8 is fine. So this is the before selective color and this is the after. So let's do a little bit of eye whitening because I feel like the eyes are a little bit, you can start to just want to whiten these eyes to look better and beautiful. So we're going to come to the hue and saturation adjustment layer right here and simply come and make sure the master is selected and come to saturation and desaturate, and by taking this down you can see that it takes out the color out of the overall image, but in this way it is going to be making the eyes white. So you can use the same technique for eye and teeth whitening. So just come and click on that and close it. So the image is black and white, but we only want to affect the eyes. So make sure the white layer mask is selected. Then we have to invert this layer by pressing Ctrl I, or you can use Command I on the keyboard to invert the effect. Come and get the brush tool with the opacity and the flat 100%. So make sure you change the flow back to 100%. With white as the foreground color, we're just going to paint into the eyes to do the eye whitening. So only paint on the white area of the eye using a soft brush. So make sure you change the settings to the soft brush. So just like that. Come this side and also paint just like that. I think you can see an effect. And now the eyes are white. You can, if at all you feel like working on the teeth, you can as well paint on the teeth. And if at all you paint a given area that you don't want to paint, switch back to black and you can use the black option to erase the effect. So this is what we have done and we have achieved at the end of this very tutorial. So let me show you the overall before and after for retouching in Photoshop of this very image. So this is the before, after, before, after. You can see what we have been able to achieve. So this is how you can easily retouch and color grade as a beginner in Photoshop. So what we are going to be doing, we are going to export the image so that it doesn't change color when we post it or print it out. So what we're going to do, we are just going to come right here to File, come to Export, and come to Export As. So when you come to Export As, it's going to open up the Export As window. So many of you have been having that issue of your photos changing in color when you post them on social media or when you print them out. So this is why you have to pay maximum attention. So make sure the format is set to JPEG and quality 100%. Make sure the sample is set to bicubic sharper, because we want Photoshop to slightly sharpen the photo for us as it is being saved. So make sure the color space is set to convert sRGB, and also left click on this option that says embed color profile, and this way it is going to embed the colors we have artificially color graded or added into this very image. So after doing that, simply come right here and simply come and hit export and look for where you want to save the image. So mine is going to be on the desktop. You can rename it whatever you want and simply hit save. So when it is done saving, it is going to open the image back to Photoshop. So it is going to automatically close that window. So this is it for this video. And if at all you have enjoyed this, simply like this video and don't forget to subscribe to this channel. If at all you are watching and you're not subscribed yet to this channel, and don't forget to like this video. Please like this video and please subscribe, and also follow me on TikTok at ronnixphotography. Thank you for watching, and always keep practicing if at all you want to be better, and also keep creating.